This week on the Spike and Jones podcast.
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. This week on the show, Spike and I talk about bands we love. Yes, we've done songs. Yes, we've done movie songs. Yes, we've probably done movie bands. But we just needed to talk about the actual bands that motivate us and change our lives. And there are a few surprises in here. Plus, Spike discovers quite quickly that Rob's sensibilities are, well, a little strange.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Spike and Jones.
I was listening to radio last week and some clam dip on Run Sports Radio was talking about how overrated Caddyshack and
that set you off. Overrated Caddyshack and Animal House.
Yes,
probably.
Yes,
yeah,
those two. He's like, they're the most overrated movies. You know, blah blah blah. Dumb and Dumber. I'm like, I felt like punching my radio.
Yeah,
you know, if I hadn't feared having to replace the radio, which is actually worth more than the car right now. So, yeah, I was just like, come on, overrated Caddyshack. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I love both those movies. I don't have them stuck in, quote central like you do.
Well, I have got episodes of West Wing in quote central.
Yeah, but you have issues.
Serious issues. I've got leather-bound issues cataloged.
So I would say that, last week's podcast was has been so far as it was posted yesterday. Enormously successful, very, very fast out of the book. And we've had a number of new subscribers, which is really nice.
Cool.
So that's good. I'm begging you to continue to post this on your Facebook page. And if you saw Scott Adams yesterday, basically spam the crap out of you and say, look, post it on Spike and the Impalers.
I didn't see those at all. I didn't go near it last night.
Yeah. Post it on
funny?
everything.
I am weary. I am weary.
As you should
of
be.
social media.
Yeah.
I'm taking solace in the fact that there's 2% of these idiots are the ones that are most ardent and adamant and vocal on social media.
Yeah.
And I have taken comfort in the fact that they can't possibly represent the education level of this country. They can't. They're the outliers.
As they think of you, right?
Yeah, right.
You couldn't possibly represent
how did this guy get a gig?
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
So you're just staying away, or you're just picking and choosing your battles?
You know what? It's funny. I dip and dive. I come in the first time I see some idiot make a statement that is just beyond logical comprehension.
Like last night, I saw you dipped in last night around 9 o'clock.
What was it on? What did I say? I know. Yeah, I try, but I don't stay.
No. You jumped in, you hit a punch, and you ran.
Yeah.
I don't even remember the
punch
comment,
and run.
but I remember thinking like, oh, I see what Spike's doing. He's like picking his battles, which is smart because
I'm not going to change
win
anybody.
right now.
I'm not going to change anybody's mind. They're not going to change mine.
No.
Although you know what? It's funny. I have changed a couple minds though. I honestly can say.
Yeah.
That I've engaged in respectful and supported debate.
Yeah.
And people have, wow, okay. That's, and I think I've changed their mind.
Well, I think I got you to believe in God now.
Yeah. Well, I know there's a God. He's got to be so vengeful, though. What the hell?
He's so pissed off all the time.
What
That's
did we
one
do?
Pissed off dude.
What did we do? We canceled Dallas on him twice. Jeez.
And Family Guy.
Come on. Oh, my God.
Oh, man. So this week, I thought, and we don't have to hit it right off the bat, but it would be nice to go back to something we're really comfortable with. And we love movies. We love music. Mm-hmm. And we had talked about favorite songs, like either one-hit wonders or songs that were influential. But we never actually hit on bands as an entire entity, right? Mm-hmm. Like, who do you really love, or who really influenced you? And I thought,
who was overrated?
Yeah, it could be anything, right?
Yeah.
So today's topic really is just deep sicking bands. What's our thing, man?
I love that because it's something you can really have a passionate opinion about.
Yeah,
and people, no matter how well you justify your point of view, somebody out there thinks you're completely full of shit.
Yeah.
and a total zero.
And they'd be right.
And they'd be completely right and justified in their opinion.
They're like, what do you mean you don't like Anne Murray? I'm like, well,
Anne Marie's a god.
I can actually appreciate Anne Marie. I really can. I can appreciate Phoebe Snow.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean,
I can
there's
appreciate
talent
all
there
those
in all those
70s
places.
adult contemporary
Right.
singers. Tony Tennille. I love Captain
Yeah,
Tennille.
Captain
One of
Tennille.
my favorite things from the 70s because
Sure.
she was so gloriously happy. You
Yeah.
could not stop smiling when you watched Tony Tennille sing. Oh, and Spike's phone reminds us. The Spike and Jones podcast is graciously sponsored by Justin Richards, founder and principal at Team Richards Realty Group in Bellevue, Washington. When the average agent you meet on the street sells fewer than 4 homes a year, experience matters. Justin and his team rely on more than 30 years combined experience, multiple financial market up and down swings, and hundreds of properties sold when advising their clients on their next sound investment or pricing a home for sale. Their goal is always very simple. Achieve the best home price results in a time frame that suits your needs, all with the least amount of stress to you as a buyer or seller. For more information, visit teamrichardsrealty.com. That's teamrichardsrealty.com or call Justin Richards at 425-765-8088. And now, on with the podcast. So Spike had to take that call, and I wanted to cut it off, and I'll probably put an ad in the middle or something and be weird.
Do you do that? Do you add in the middle of the...
I do.
Nice.
I have a sponsor in Bellevue who's a real estate agent and great guy. I love this guy. And last week's show, you had to take a pee break, and you go, hang on a second, I got to go pee, and then it goes right into the. He calls me up and he goes, dude, why did you put it right there? And I'm like, because it's a break.
You sell a
time.
house with bathrooms, right?
That's right.
Do you when you want to be?
It was funny. I thought it was hilarious. I interviewed this great band, this keyboard player. I really love this band.
Haken?
Haken.
Sorry.
That's okay. It looks like Haken, and they're from London.
2 A's?
No, 1A. In fact, I thought they were Norwegian because the
Right.
name, it's like, what the heck does that mean? Turns out it's a made-up name. When they were kids, they played D&D, and they made up monster names, and one of them was the Haken, right? Oh, my God. You got to run around the boulder because the Haken is right in front of you, right?
Do you know that Haken and Kristen were the mascots of the 1994 Winter Olympics in Lillehammer, Norway?
Nice.
Haken and Kristen.
The only thing I remember about Lillehammer is David Letterman's mom.
Nice.
Yeah. Do you remember that? When
I do. We were there. Joe and I went to Lillehammer
Really?
for Coca-Cola. We went broadcast live from Lillehammer for a week.
Wow.
Yeah. I grabbed Christy Yamaguchi's ass. I'm telling you. Man. That girl was in blue jeans. She had retired from skating.
Yeah.
She was that celebrity guest commentator that Coca-Cola was walking around and... You know, oh my God, tight little Christy Yamaguchi blue jeans.
Was
man.
that 94?
94? Yeah.
Okay, so that was the Tonya Harding year.
Yes, it was.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
That is a messed up
Yep,
time.
that was some effed up stuff there, buddy. That girl was out of her mind. And Nancy Kerrigan.
Yeah, I have a
Campbell Soup.
I went to college in Portland, and one of my best friends from the area, right? And his best friend dated Tonya Harding.
Really?
Before she married Jeff Gillooly. Yeah. And he said she was a maniac in every way.
Oh, nice.
As you
nice.
could imagine.
Well, yeah, a girl like that's fit as a fiddle, limber as all day long. You bet.
And crazy.
And out of her mind.
Yeah.
Psycho crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this week was hoping we could get to it. We don't have to do it quite yet, but I was hoping we could get to really sweet ass talks about bands because I love music. I love music, and clearly we're both influenced by it. It's a huge part of our childhood.
Right.
And then you were just on the phone. I'm not going to name names, and I'm not going to name whom, but it's interesting how we talk about music in all aspects of what we do.
Sure. Well, especially in my line of work. I mean, I fell into this field, and it's music based. That's what we do. And although our show of the 20-some years we got to do our show became less about music and more about ourselves and about our community and the world that we survive in.
Right.
And that's what was nice. But it's all music based, and music defines who you are. Your taste in music really shapes who you are, and the artists that you choose to love or loathe, I think, says a lot about your moral compass if I can't be a little too pretentious there.
Wow.
Really?
The music we listen to defines our moral compass?
I think so.
Seriously?
I
love this.
Maybe that's full of shit. I don't know. Maybe it's pretentious. Maybe it is. But I mean, if I look at the artists that I truly love,
okay.
And they are, if I had to list them in order,
Meryl Streep. God. Yeah.
Chuck Norris.
No. Wrong direction.
Like The Who.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, Pete Townsend was a fucked up kid.
Yeah.
Who found a way to share it and to work with it and to manage his dysfunction.
Sure.
And to relate to a generation of kids going through the same shit.
Sure.
That sense of, I don't want to say rebellion because that's too generic and too, coping, I think, is more than rebellion, but maybe rebellion to a point. Or the Beatles. Yeah. Those aren't my two favorite bands. The Who is, not the Beatles.
Yeah.
If you're a Stones fan, you're more of a personality type than a Beatle fan.
Interesting.
I think so. I think the Stones had more fuck you, more brash to them, and the Beatles had more,
they were artistic.
Finding the reason to bind us in the world.
Right.
As opposing to find the reason to stand alone. I think it was a better way to define the Stones.
Well, the way I could describe it is the Beatles wanted to show us how to love each other. Mm-hmm. The Stones wanted to teach us how to fuck each other.
Nice. That's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I'd subscribe to that.
It's all dirty all the time.
Yeah. Even the love songs were harsh and they had their moments.
You
of
make
course,
a dead man come. I mean, my God, that line.
Well, who hasn't done that for money? I mean, come on. For me, Springsteen, that's my guy. If I had to be, stuck on an island with one guy forever, it would be Bruce.
Yeah.
I mean, when I meant like his music.
Sure.
I know. Yes, I would live on an island. And I'd wear a coconut bra.
You and Andy Dick.
Coconut bra and a grass skirt, whatever you wanted, man. Seafood again, boss? You bet. The Police, Elvis Costello. I love that kind of shit.
Yeah.
I'm a child of the second British invasion.
Okay.
The Clash.
So more of the punk, that new wave thing that came out of
Police,
London.
Elvis. But I love the Kinks. I love the Who. I mean, Christ, I work at KZOK. 2/3 of the music we play is British.
Sure.
Easily.
Yeah.
But
that's that's what came out. I mean, that is classic rock for the most part.
Yeah, it is. It's funny because it's funny when you look at it. I mean, rock and roll was stolen from the African American community, right? Clearly, the Stones did it. Everybody did it. The Beatles did it. But British did it first because we were more uptight about culture and about race than they were. So they got a lap end before we got out of the gate.
Yeah.
You know?
That's so true. It's interesting though when the Beatles stopped touring, that's when the Monkees happened. My wife and I were watching.
So you're saying that the Beatles were the Monkees? So literally, the John and Paul, George and Ringo put on different wigs and those furry vests, got that cool ass car, and decided they needed to be in front of people. Let's just do it as the Monkees. They've never been photographed together. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah. No, what I was trying to get at, thank you, was that like you said, basically white culture subjugated African American culture in the 50s, right? And all of a sudden we see I don't know, Bill Haley in the comments, right?
The first one I thought of
you start to see the whole rock and roll thing, Elvis, etc. And it's kind of like Ice-T, not Ice-T, what's his name? Eminem coming and jumping in and kind of, if you will, stealing a tiny bit at least of the reins away from black subculture with a rap space and becoming like the guy that stepped in and mattered. I guess I'm going off on a tangent, but
no. Well, I don't know that I'll give Eminem that much credit because, and I say this.
Oh, I think he's so good.
Oh no, I didn't mean that.
And I'm not a rap guy.
I didn't mean that.
I meant just totally.
I meant just
blown away by him.
No, I meant cultural appropriation. He did just what they did. It's not like he whitened up.
Well,
up soul music.
That's very fair. I'm probably off on the wrong.
No, that's okay. It's. I just said rock and roll defines your moral compass. Have you ever heard more full of shit statement than that?
Well, no.
I mean, when white artists started playing the black music, they changed. You remember the Saturday Night Live bit called the Young Caucasians.
Maybe
Ray Charles was on Saturday Night Live, and it
78.
was it was Billy Murray and Dan Aykroyd and Gilda and Lorraine and Jane Curtin, and they had Ray Charles on, and it's like, hey, what did I say? They all had sweaters and skirts on, and they're singing Ray Charles's new song, and Ray ding 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 ding,
Right.
It was fucking hilarious, but it was so the young Caucasians.
Yeah.
Mr. Charles, we love your music, Mr. Charles. Try it like this. Ding, 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 ding. Belushi was on there with a chubby guy in a sweater vest. It was fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
But and in England, I mean, the Stones and Clapton and Beck. It's all Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters. That's all that is.
Right.
But those kids were cooler with it.
Well, yeah, I guess where
Who as well.
Right. Where I was going with that is the Brits really took that and ran with it, right? They added art to it, or they rebellion, whatever you want to call it. But they turned it into their own thing, and then we bought it, right?
Right.
But what was interesting to me is when the Beatles, and this is where I was going, the Beatles said, we played Shay, nobody heard us.
Right.
We can't even hear ourselves because all we hear is screams. You guys are driving us crazy. We're just going to become introverts and artists.
Right.
And they left this giant mop top hole,
right,
that American producers said, we can capitalize
we
on
can
that.
sell
and
that.
that's exactly why the Monkees happened. Most people don't understand that. They think they were no. They took advantage of the hole and said, we can fill it with 4 cute, crazy boys. We can basically make them the first boy band, right? Completely put together by a production team.
Right.
We have their own songwriting. I mean, I think Glenn Campbell wrote half of their material. Well, I mean, they hired, in Los Angeles,
right?
The
Studio
Monkees
musicians.
were right.
Sure, you bet.
It was all that then gang of studio guys, right?
Right.
Glenn Campbell and Brian Wilson. They were writing all that material.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And then it wasn't until later when the Monkees finally had enough and wanted to prove their mettle, right? Hey, we're capable of doing this too. We are not Two Live Crew, right? But I mean, they went and did their thing, and I don't know really where I'm going with this, but I guess I'm trying to say is that we're really good as Americans. We're good at monetizing stuff like that, but we're not necessarily doing anything unique. We like to take what's already been done and process it.
Well, yeah,
for the most part,
yeah, and not to be so crass about it. I mean, money drives everything. If there's not a business success profit in it, nothing's going to ever work. Porn drove the internet.
Yeah.
But America likes to make things bigger, better, faster, stronger. That's what we do. So, or at least that's what we like to tell ourselves we do. Mm-hmm. We like to come, but let's talk about the bands.
Yes,
chill out. We're getting too deep.
This is Deep Six.
I got to meet Roger Daltrey once.
Yes.
Right? Got to sing with Roger Daltrey once. Sing backup with him.
That's amazing.
And I confessed to him. So people always have the great debate: are you a Beatles or a Stones guy? Beatles or a Stones guy? And I took great pride in him. I said, when people ask me if I was Beatles or Stones, I said, I'm a Who guy.
Yeah.
And I always was. And I've told you this story, and it's why I am. My parents managed a Radio Shack store in the summer of 73. I was 10 years old. I spent the entire summer at a mall. My parents managed a Radio Shack store, and I spent the entire summer at the mall. And there were 2 movies that played that summer: the Jesus Christ Superstar and the Who's Tommy. Mm-hmm. So I saw that movie like 20 times when I was 10 years old. And then my uncle
and Margaret,
but no kidding, in the Beans. But then my uncle said, no. Listen to this. And it's like that scene from Almost Famous.
I know what.
Right?
Quadrophenia.
Well, no, Quadrophenia
came later, right?
Quadrophenia is after that. Yeah.
Right.
Well, Quadrophenia came out the same time as the Tommy movie.
Okay.
You're chronological correct.
Okay.
No, but my uncle said, no. Because I'm all like loving, the album versions of Pinball Wizard by Elton John.
Sure.
My uncle said, no. Listen to this is the Who doing Tommy. Here's Pete Townsend singing, Acid Queen. Here's Roger Daltrey singing, the Jack Nicholson does this a bit in the movie.
Right.
He seems to be completely unreceptive. But it's Jack Nicholson singing. He said, no, wait till you hear Roger Daltrey sing this shit. Here's Pete doing Acid Queen.
Yeah.
Instead of Clapton, which was cool. Clapton was cool. He did I Say for the Blind, I think. Anyway, my Who roots were sunk in at 10.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, I could sit here right now. You ever seen the movie Along Came Polly, I think it's called?
With Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller, yeah.
When he slaps her on the end.
Right. In that movie, I think that's the right movie. I'm pretty sure it is. Philip Seymour Hoffman plays his friend. That's where the term shart was born.
He's so gross. Yeah, it's like raindrops.
Right, but he does the Jesus Christ Superstar.
Yeah.
And like tonight I'll be playing both Jesus and Judas. Right. I love that. It's great. I could sit here and sing to you the entire soundtrack from Jesus Christ Superstar.
Please don't.
From start to finish. I mean, I know every.
This.
I do. But
it's like
I
your
was
favorite
10.
thing in the whole world.
Jesus Christ Superstar is the shit.
Yeah,
I know. I still know every note of that. I wake up some mornings and that's what's running through my head. Different songs from different songs from that soundtrack.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm more like Hair, and I wasn't
Loved
into
Hair.
any of that stuff. But I mean, I admit it was just a little bit. You're 3 years older than me. It was just a little bit too shallow for me, right? I didn't quite get it.
The depth
I was
of it.
7.
Right.
You know what I mean? When that stuff was hitting. And I was living in Wenatchee, right, which is like, I don't know, country
The
music
cultural
heaven. There's nothing.
Mecca. Yeah,
right.
that is Wenatchee.
Yeah. There was no, I mean, I think I told you this before, we didn't have a rock and roll station until 1978. When it wasn't a rock and roll station, it was still a country station that every Sunday played Casey Kasem's American Top 40, which is the first time I started hearing rock and roll.
Wow.
I was like, what? What is this thing? Who
At that
are
point,
these
rock
Doobie
and roll was
Brothers?
the Stones, not the Stones, the Doobies, and James Taylor.
Yeah. Who is the Doobie Brothers? Who is Gordon Lightfoot?
Right.
that was my foray into the mysterious world of rock and roll. So I wanted to name one of the bands that I found extraordinarily influential to me. And for my friends who are listening to this, they'll say, "Why did you start with this band?" And I'll say, because they, in some ways, became the band I want my kids to listen to. Like, I think it's one of the few big bands. You know how there's there's U2, there's the big giant bands today, but of the probably 10 or so truly giant iconic bands, the one band I feel translates across all mediums is Pink Floyd.
Okay.
And I get it. It's atmospheric and odd and maybe sometimes safe, maybe sometimes too political, maybe not interesting enough musically. There's all these reasons why people maybe didn't like Pink Floyd. They didn't like They didn't like the darkness of maybe some of the lyrics.
Wow.
But I found, so I mean, again, going back to what I talked about weeks back when I talked about childhood and being sort of protected from what I would call modern media. My parents kind of just, again, where we lived, and we didn't really watch TV, and at the time there was 3 channels, and we just didn't really do much. But when I discovered Pink Floyd, of all things, and this goes back to my dark sensibilities, was The Wall. That was the very first time I heard Pink Floyd. So, I mean, they'd been famous for, 15 years. Yeah. But I had never heard Pink Floyd until The Wall came out. And I didn't really like Another Brick in the Wall. I didn't like the disco. I didn't like the... It was just too safe for me.
Okay.
But then when my friend Chris brought the cassette over to my house for a sleepover, right, we're 13 years old, and we've got the stereo, and we got the cassette, and we're sitting there in my bedroom listening to this music.
So which one got you? Which track off The Wall
which
got
song?
you? Yeah. If it wasn't Brick in the Wall, which I get.
Probably One of My Turns.
Really?
Which is like the darkest.
No shit.
This goes back to my sensibilities,
right? All of a sudden you hear Mother, and then Thin Ice.
I'd never heard people say, Mother try to break my balls. I was like, oh my God. And of course I didn't know what the term ball breaker meant.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then Young Lust and the Wanna Take a Bath. And the girl talking, and I didn't really conceptually understand. I was really pretty naive. I didn't conceptually understand what The Wall was about, and I wasn't really listening to what it was about. Musically, it was such a journey. I loved, songs like Run Like Hell, of course, before they were overplayed. And then I loved the super heavy ending of it, and the court, and the being judged. And,
Good morning, Worm, Your Honor.
right.
God, yeah.
And that the evidence before the court.
Right,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? It was just so insane.
Feelings
It was
of the most peculiar
insane.
nature.
And so it was cinema in a song.
Yeah.
And it just captured my imagination, and I can still see it. How I felt before I saw the movie, which
Okay.
sort of redefined the
Sure,
visuals
sure.
for me. And now, of course, I can't get past that. I
Right.
see those visuals
Well,
from
that
the
was
movie.
the intent, yeah.
But anyway, long story short is it was Pink Floyd, and it wasn't until, this is the truth, Spike, swear this is the truth. It wasn't until I was a senior in high school in 1984, living in Olympia, I heard Dark Side of the Moon.
Wow.
I mean, and all my friends are like, Dark Side of the Moon, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know. And in fact, when I heard it, I didn't like it at all. It wasn't
Wow.
cool enough. It wasn't rock and roll enough. It wasn't heavy enough.
Right.
It didn't make any sense to me. I was just bored.
Right.
And now I listen to Us and Them, and I think it might be like in the top 10 of all songs.
Ever written, yeah.
It's a perfect song.
Well, it's funny. I mean, and we spoke to how I found The Who and their the visual, the story of Tommy, right?
Right.
Albums that are a story, that are a whole encompassing story, that tell a story, not just a collection of singles. There's a lot of bands that have done that.
The concept record.
Right. Or the rock opera. Tommy's the rock opera. Quadrophenia is a rock opera. The Wall's a rock opera. For all intents and purposes.
Yeah. Dark Side of the Moon is definitely a rock
Yeah,
opera.
I mean, but it's but I guess I was first off stoned.
Yeah.
For most of my musical endeavors, and missing school
Yeah.
to be stoned. So when you put on Pink Floyd's The Wall and listen from start to finish, you get the story. You go on this journey with these guys.
Yeah.
And with Quadrophenia, with
It's a headphone record.
it told me, I was listening to Tom Petty yesterday. We were playing, Tom Petty an Afternoon Drive, and it was, I think we were doing American Girl. Was playing, and that's, you don't think of Tom Petty as a guy with, you got to listen to this on headphones.
No.
I mean, the guitars there's 3 different guitar riffs, and they're in different ears at different times, and Mike Campbell's up here on this side doing this high thing, and then Tom's filling in with a lower end down that's in the other side of your head.
Yeah.
It's like they're attacking your brain from
And
both
Stan
sides.
Lynch is a great drummer.
Oh my God! I mean, the whole band it's a phenomenal
Yeah.
piece of music,
Yeah.
and it's one of his earliest pieces. I mean, but listen to you talk about Pink Floyd. And you said some of the things you said people might not get into Pink Floyd. It was too simplistic. I think you said.
Well,
Or you said something along those lines, and I meant to just. Shit my pants. That's
Yeah.
something that anybody could actually listen to Pink Floyd and think that it was too simplistic. It's the most, to me,
it's dense.
it's
super dense.
and layered, and every note does something important, and without any single note
Yeah.
on any single piece of any one of their songs, it's not complete.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll tell you, I was probably thinking of myself, and this comes from me being a drummer. It's not simplistic music. I get it.
No, I hear you.
But the first time I heard it, I remember thinking, it's just the drums were boring to me.
Yeah.
I mean, Nick's a fine drummer. He holds the beat, and it's not his role to do anything else,
Right.
right?
Well,
it's not supposed to be Neil Peart from Rush.
Well,
It's not supposed to be.
name a Pink Floyd drum solo. Can you?
Exactly. Well,
Right. Well, maybe if I put a gun to your
from,
head.
from Dark Side of the Moon, and then it's on time, that dunk dunk. I mean, that's about it.
Right. I mean, yeah.
You know?
The Who, of course.
Taking away
Right.
the moments.
But there's no get out of the way.
No.
Keith's going drums are like the Who or Bonzo,
Right.
Or Neil Peart or
Yeah.
Bill Ward.
Yeah.
Sabbath. I mean, there's been moments in Sabbath records that are just like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
You know.
No, but when you listen to it, when you really listen to it, just close your eyes. And again, The Wall is the perfect headphone record. I dare everyone to grab the bottle of the best, like Pinot Noir, go sit in the dark with your headphones on, with The Wall on, not loud, just low, in a quiet room, and just listen to the music move around in your head, and even I don't remember the name of the song. All of a sudden, is it Thin Ice? But no, it's not Thin Ice. But it's the one right before Breaking the Wall Part 2. There were certain teachers who would let the children any way they could. And you hear oof in the background.
Yeah.
And it's like a person punching somebody in the gut. And I love all those little
Yeah.
you know. If you listen to Dark Side of the Moon, the very, very intro with all the slow fade in, with all the sound effects and the helicopter sounds and all the other gunk and junk, there is a conversation, and it's all about Sid, talking about Sid. And I didn't even know this until last week. I never noticed it. I just heard all the, just the crud, because that's what their thing, right? Create this dense soundscape. And I was watching a documentary on the making of Dark Side of the Moon, and they were raising the tracks so you could hear. I don't remember what they said, but I was like, oh my God, they're talking about Sid. Of course, the whole album, Dark Side of the Moon and Wish You Were Here, is about Sid. I mean, it's like they couldn't let Sid go. You know, they were haunted by the ghost of Sid Barrett. Yeah. And I mean, even The Wall, there are aspects of Sid in there. They'd broken off, and, now they were really, it was Roger Waters against the other three guys. Right. Because he hated Richard, the piano player. They just
Rick Wright
could not stand each other. Yeah, Rick Wright. And yet I would say Rick Wright is the silent hero of Pink Floyd.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, and when you listen to Breathe, that dun, 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 breathe, right? It's the way he plays organ, just mind blowing.
My favorite Pink Floyd, though, is Animals.
Really?
I love Animals.
Everybody says this except me.
I love Animals.
I struggle with it.
You want to put a set of headphones on.
Oh, I know.
And start at the beginning.
That's a noise record.
And start at the beginning and listen to the sheep.
It's a drug record.
Oh well, yeah.
I mean, to me, it is. It is.
Well, it's the most profound statement about humanity.
Yeah.
And the human condition and human nature.
It's a pretty pissed off record.
It is. Well, it's a perfect, dogs, sheep, pigs. Yeah. It's George Orwell. It's Animal Farm.
Yeah.
It's the perfect assessment of human nature.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, and it's just fucking powerful. And
Roger hated people
knock
then.
You over.
I mean, he said that was when I hated people. I hated our audiences. That's when he was, well known, if you know this, for spitting on audience members during shows. Just like, I can't stand you guys anymore. Just get out of my face. It was one of the reasons he did The Wall and wanted to put the wall between him and himself. It was just to remind you that, you know what? Yeah. You can kiss my ass. I'm famous and you're not, and you'll never get to me.
Well... it's why would somebody feel that way? I mean, we're speculating, of course. Why? How could you? I can't even fathom. I can't wrap my brain around how somebody could loathe their audience to that point. Is it because they weren't progressing with him? Is it because when you go to a show and all they want to hear is, money?
Yeah, fame. Fame is abhorrent to most people. I've never been famous. I don't know what it's like to walk down the street and have people never stop intruding. I don't know what it's like to be taking a leak and have somebody reach over and go, "Hey, I'm a big fan.
Can I get a picture?"
Seriously,
dude,
I can't imagine what that's like.
It's wonderful.
And I've seen so many famous people in my life that I could have walked up and asked, and especially nowadays with the whole selfie thing, and I don't. I just leave them. I might give them the friendly salute or something. Yeah. That's it. I let them be because I can acknowledge that they're there and that that's good for the ego. Great, but Jesus, they're humans, man.
You know, though, it's funny. I have a different take. I fanboy badly.
Yeah.
But I never, and I have seen people out, and I see people in a professional setting where we're at a show or whatnot. We get to go backstage, whatnot. We get to meet people, interviews, whatnot. And I fanboy out terribly. Yeah. Like I'm like Chris Farley's character on Saturday Night Live. But if I see somebody out like in the
so you were in the Beatles. What was that like?
That was remember that? That was awesome. If I see somebody out in public, in a at the grocery store, per se setting, and there's somebody that's powerful in my life and influential in my life, I will respect, of course, privacy and all that shit. But I want to make sure that I just say thank you, and I don't belabor the point or ask for anything, autograph or photograph or whatever. I bullshit. But But I'll say, hey, listen, I don't mean to intrude. I know your privacy is well earned or deserved. I said, but just thank you for all that you've done. Just amazing things that you've done.
Yeah,
Have meant the
cool.
world to me. Thank you.
Yeah.
'Cause I hope that they like to hear that.
Yeah.
I would hope.
Yeah.
When somebody is nice enough to come up to me and goes, oh my God, I love you guys. We've known you forever. And you remember this. I mean, that is, there's
Remember the time I called you in 1977?
I get that all the fucking time. You know what though? There's no greater compliment somebody can give you.
I wish somebody would do that to me.
God.
I'm like, tell me more.
I've told you this before. I think I used to work with a guy, and I won't name his name, but he used to bitch about people coming up to him in public.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, stop wearing your fucking jersey with your name on the back, asshole.
Yeah.
You're in radio. Nobody knows what you look like. If you didn't want to get approached at a bar in Seattle, you wouldn't wear the station T-shirt with your name on the back. You full of shit. God. It's just, I'm like, really?
I'm going through the Rolodex of my brain going, it's one of 5 people.
Yeah, you probably know who it is. You probably don't know who it is.
No, I think I know of this person.
We'll splice out his name. Who do you think it is?
Yeah, no. Who do I think it is?
Yeah.
No, because I'll forget to splice it out. I will. I totally will. I'm not going to say. We can tell me when we're done.
Okay, I will. He's an asshole.
Now I got to know. I will. Hey, Spike, I promise you I'll splice it out. A few years ago, this is a little off topic. One of my favorite drummers is Terry Bozzio.
Right.
And Terry Bozzio.
Missing
is, right?
Persons, you bet.
Missing Persons and
Dale's brother.
Frank
You bet.
Zappa.
Zappa, you bet.
You know what I mean? All that stuff. So long story short is a friend of mine from college was at the time their touring manager or touring
With Frank or with Terry?
With Terry. No, it was in '94. He was in a one-off band called Polytown, and they basically did like acid jazz. It was really awesome.
How Zappa-esque.
It was, very much. They played at the Firehouse in Ballard before it doesn't exist anymore, right? And so this is '94, and I came in. I got free tickets, which is great, and the place is packed. And Terry's drum set takes the whole stage because it's the biggest drum set you'll ever see in the history of mankind. There's 63 cymbals. 63 cymbals. I have 7 on my kit, and I don't hit them all.
Right.
He hits every one of them in every song. It's insane. So, it's very masturbatory, but it's awesome. Mm-hmm. And I've never met the guy. He plays, he's bigger than life. It's an amazing thing. You can't stop watching the guy. And then the show's over, and he goes backstage and, does his thing, whatever, goes take a shower and whatnot. And for some reason, I did that thing where I'm like, I'm determined to meet him.
Yeah.
This is probably the only chance I'm ever going to have to meet him. And I can name drop my friend Audrey, who got me the tickets. Uh-huh. So I'm standing there, and there's like 10, people waiting for doing the same thing. And I'm the front of the line, right? Comes out, he's got his towel around his head. I mean, we're talking like an hour and a half.
Right.
Comes out. And he's like this tall. Yeah. I mean, it freaked me out. So people can't see this on the radio, but he's like 5'6".
Right.
He's not tall like me, but on stage he looks really tall.
Right.
And so anyway, he comes out, and I said, "Hey Terry, Audrey told me you guys were going to be in town tonight, and so she caught my tickets." I said, I hope that's okay. I'll buy merch, you know what I mean? But I just wanted to meet you and just tell you I really appreciate your influence in my life. And they said the same thing. I love what you've done over the years, and I just, if any one fan can encourage you to keep going because you changed the world for us.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he took my hand, and he put both hands on it, and he was so gracious. Yeah. And I'd heard he was a jerk.
Right.
He was like, "Oh, thank you so much." He kind of like bowed to me, the whole thing, right? And he said, "Oh, wait a minute, are you Brock?" And my name's Rob, right? Mm-hmm. And I go, "Wait a minute. Well, my friend Audrey, when I was in college with her, we used to joke about I had this special nickname, Brock Spryer." Right, the famous rock star version of me.
Right,
ladies and gentlemen, the drums, Brock Spryer. Mm-hmm. Right, he drops this. He goes, "Oh my God, are you Brock?" And I realized she told him the story, which is badass.
That's killer,
so all
man.
of a sudden, I was famous. He goes, "I've heard about you. You're a great player."
Oh, that's awesome.
This is Terry Bozzio.
That's fucking killer.
Telling me I'm a great drummer. It was just like, what? I mean, I can see it. I can see it.
I know.
My nipples are hard right now. It was.
Don't hurt yourself there, Timmy.
It was such an
I know. I can put your eye out, man.
I think I can cut my shirt. It was so great that he was so kind, and then he knew that story, and then he knew, he had the wherewithal to say it, right? To kind of, not that he had to give me anything, but he gave me something back. Was so wonderful. Never forgotten that.
Nice.
Yeah. So, other bands, Pink Floyd cannot be the only band we are both enamored with. What's another band besides the Who? You've got to have other bands. It can't just be
come on,
Captain and Tennille or
Police.
The Police.
The Police, man, and old Police.
Nice.
I love the first they only made 5-6 albums, right? They made Outlandis D'Amore, Regatta de Blancs, Nyada Mandata, Ghost in the Machine, Synchronicity, and that was it, right?
Yeah,
they were
5
done.
albums.
Yeah.
What they made the best of.
With
the remake of
Don't Stand.
Yeah,
whatever. I still love the Police. And I met Sting a couple times.
Nice.
And just he's another one that's this fucking tall.
Really?
Yeah.
He
that
looks
one,
so
you know
tall.
why they made Stewart and Andy stand in holes next to him so he could be tall, Sting in the middle.
Oh, I had no idea.
I know. And from all accounts, he was just a douchebag. But I got to meet him one time down at White River. He toured with Annie Lennox. And Sting's a little imp, a tiny little imp of a guy.
Yeah. Incredibly well, incredible shape.
He's just a specimen. It was funny. We got to meet. I got to go first because it was Melissa and I and a bunch of people, and then our listeners got to go through the line, the pre-show meet and greet, yada yada. And afterward, he's just like, "Is that it? Is that everybody?" Wow. And I went up I'm like, "No," and I went and just hugged him. I said, "Dude, you literally changed my life. My everything I'm doing now is because of you." He's like, "What do you give me a look at, huh?" And I'm like, "Well,
what do you mean?"
Yeah. I said, "Well, I met a guy in radio and I wrote a parody for him and I was able to sound like you and sing and that was enough for him to hire me and move me across the country where I met my wife and had my kids. So literally, my love of your music opened the door for me to be who I turned out to be."
That's amazing.
He's like, "Wow, that's cool. Thanks." I'm like, "Yeah." So it wasn't like, "Oh my God, you're the machine,"
Yeah, no doubt.
But it was pretty cool. So the Police, I just loved the harmonies of their vocals. I loved, the drumming of Stuart Copeland is mind-boggling. Even though Andy Summers is a D-bag, he was the perfect guitar wizard for that band. Did things that just hadn't been done yet.
Know them at all, right? I mean, I've never met them. I've only seen what I've seen in videos, and documentaries can be cut together in a way that creates an atmosphere,
right?
Or
sure, as they should be,
a dynamic, right? That you're like, okay, wow, no wonder they broke up. They can't stand each other.
No, that part was true.
Yeah, I certainly knew about the Police, and I discovered them, in '80, after maybe their second album had come out, right before Zenyatta Mandata, and then certainly before Ghost in the Machine. It wasn't until Ghost in the Machine, though, that things started to click for me again, because I had moved from Eastern Washington to Olympia, and all of a sudden I heard, KSW and local radio stations that were playing it, and so I heard Every Little Thing She Does Is Magic,
right.
And so for me, even though knowing that's the fourth album in, that was the moment that woke me up to the Police.
Right.
I never fell in love with them until after they were a band. I didn't see them in tour. I actually started to dig them in like 86, 87.
Okay, yeah.
And I can certainly appreciate them. I mean, Stuart Copeland's a great player, and I love their musicality. I mean, Sting's a hell of a songwriter.
Phenomenal.
And you're right, Andy's really good at filling all the gaps in that rhythm.
I like the fact that they world musicked the shit out of their stuff. Yeah.
All the reggae influences and the Middle Eastern influences.
Yeah.
I just didn't get it as a kid. I was starting to evolve from being the kid who was into Rush and Kansas and Styx and the Tubes and a lot of that 70s sort of pseudo progressive rock, thing, into almost metal, right? I was starting to listen. I'd never heard of, I'd heard of Black Sabbath, but I mean, all of a sudden Ozzy was fresh off the boat again, right? He had renewed himself with Diary of a Madman, which is a great album, and Blizzard of Oz.
Right.
And then at the same time, I discovered Iron Maiden, even though I've never been an Iron Maiden fan in the sense of a true fan.
Right.
But I heard Peace of Mind and a few of these sort of heavier songs, and all of a sudden I was like, okay, that was kind of the direction I was veering. So the Police kind of got lost in the mix. They weren't heavy enough.
That was pop too. Yeah, it was too pop. Yeah.
But as I got older, I mean, I certainly appreciate them far more than I do Iron Maiden or Ozzy.
Well, it's funny because I have a peripheral admiration and respect for bands like Priest.
Oh yeah,
and,
I'm a huge Priest fan.
and Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
You know, and I love Sabbath. You know, but I'm not a Sabbath head.
Yeah,
it's a little too heavy, a little too dark for me. But I know a ton of their shit and loved a ton of their shit. And you got to respect, you know, Paranoid, the whole album. And, you know, I mean, some phenomenally weird shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, bands we're not talking about, and I got to tell you that I just adore, is Alice in Chains.
Wow. That is so cool that you said that.
Of all the Seattle bands, and we got here in
That's my favorite Seattle band.
We got here in 89.
By far.
And, you know, between, you know, PJ and Soundgarden and everybody else, Nirvana, Alice.
Yeah, I was like, how do you forget Nirvana?
No, I know. Well, you know.
No, I know, but they were the one that were overplayed.
Nirvana wasn't they were overplayed. He was brilliant. He was fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Of all the things that came out of Seattle, Nirvana was the most commercially viable.
Sure.
Commercially viable.
Sure.
Kurt wrote
melody.
songs. It was. Kurt wrote better songs.
Yeah.
They weren't the best band. Kurt was not a great guitar player by any way stretch of the imagination,
but he meant it.
But he was just fucking laying it out there.
Yeah.
But for me, it was always Alice, man.
Yeah.
It was Jerry and Layne.
Yeah.
You know, God.
Yeah. And they're still awesome.
They are. Well, they are.
Well, they really are. I mean, granted, I don't remember his name all of a sudden.
I know, right?
But whoever they hired, what's his name? Thomas? Is that his name? Thomas?
I couldn't tell you. How's that? I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, Tim, Thomas. It's one of those. Anyway, the Black Turns to Blue, you know, that they released maybe a few years ago, and then the Dinosaurs record that they did after that. They sound. Granted, they sound like not a parody, but they sound like a cover band now because they've hired a guy that sounds William. That's his name.
Yeah.
They've hired a guy that sounds just like Layne.
Right.
But as a unit, as a musical unit, they're better. They're better because William also plays guitar.
Okay.
So in the past, when they would play live, when Jerry would go into a solo, it would lose all the chunk.
Yeah.
Right now, the chunk is there. I mean, they are a far better musically talented unit than ever before. But it was Layne. I mean, when you really look at the unique sound of Alice in Chains, it was the combination. The way they sang their harmonies were always in thirds, which is a Jerry thing.
I know, totally a Jerry thing.
But
that
Layne's,
Gregorian chant quality to it, you know?
Layne's weird country grunge way of singing that, you know, undeniable. It's still fabulous.
I was walking
music.
through the hallway the other day, and my boss had his radio on in his room, and you know, I Stay Away. It was on, right?
Oh, it's so good.
And I'm like, "Are we playing this?" That's on Jack. I'm like,
really? That was on Jack?
Yeah, I know, right? The boss is getting a little, you know, he's taking chances with, you know, we own this city, I should say.
Yeah.
That's our shit, man. Why aren't we playing that shit? Why are we giving that to somebody else?
Well, of Jack of all things.
You know, I know.
I don't know.
I hear you. I mean, we're hearing a lot of more Temple of the Dog on the radio stations these days.
Yeah. Angry Chair is my favorite Alice.
Angry Chair, yeah.
That's
I like a Wood.
Oh,
you
so
know,
good.
fuck, man.
It's all so good.
I love that shit.
Basically, Dirt and Back.
Dirt is amazing.
Yeah.
Dirt, Jar Flies.
Yeah.
Facelift. That's just that's
Tripod,
oh my God,
though. The third album in '95. That has a couple of great tunes on it. It has a song on there called "God Am," which of course is kind of a sort of a whatever, an inside joke. That's probably my favorite track on that. But that's a really thick and ugly sounding record. It's not really well produced.
Right.
It's a noisy record. It's when you listen to it, it's like the tones are. I mean, Alice in Chains is already a dark, thick, band, and the sounds, everything, they're detuned. Everything about them is like this collision of deep, detuned sound. But that third record, you know, the Tripod with the dog on the cover, is detuned.
It came with a set of stickers that had 3 dog paws.
Yeah,
it's Alice in
dirty.
Chains. Yeah,
and it's
awesome.
It's a dirty record, and so it's hard to listen to. I mean, I love it. It's a great record, but Dirt is the one. Dirt is brilliant. So I are you a fan of modern Modern music. I know you like the classic stuff, but do you
define modern?
Well, when I say modern, I guess you should
Yeah.
say modern and not even modern because that's an unfair term. That's all. That's like I don't know, Hootie and the Blowfish modern.
They put the word "blow"
Yeah,
in music.
The older I get, the heavier the music I like. I
Interesting.
admit it. I do. I mean, I love a sweet, soft pop song like the Hi Hi's. You probably never heard of them.
Who is? What? Give me a song.
You wouldn't know it.
Okay.
I don't think they get any radio airplay. They've had commercials they've done,
Okay.
Beer commercials, etc.
Right.
They are a perfect, safe, glorious, happy sounding pop band. They are just perfect. So
I hear you.
Hi Hi's, everyone. Go
Okay.
listen to them. They're wonderful.
Find a band called Mother.
Haven't
Listen
heard
to
of
that. I know you haven't. And I my daughter's nanny turned me on to them once 10 years ago.
Okay.
And they've put out like 2, maybe 3 records. It's a brother and sister duo.
Yeah.
And a supporting band, but they're just phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Wow.
Great songwriting, great musicianship. Phenomenal. But modern kind of
Sure.
pop music. I like Florence and the Machine.
Oh, that's
you know?
good. Yeah, that's
there's
very different.
There's
too.
some new shit out
it's
there.
It's like new Stevie Nicks. Kind of.
I was never a Stevie Nicks
No,
fan.
but I mean that's what Florence reminds me of.
Yeah, okay. I could get
She's
that.
kind of got the body twirling hippie.
Florence, she's just a powerful vocalist. I mean, just powerful.
Yeah.
Beyond
more
anything.
actually more Annie Lennox.
But
than-
yes. That's a better analogy
Yeah.
for Florence. There's some new shit that's caught my ear and I find value and I can get into. But
Yeah.
I'm an old curmudgeon.
Yeah.
I think that they,
You're not willing to listen to new things. Not really.
I guess I am because I got a kid who's 13 now, and just turned 13, so she's still on the young side of 13. I know, right? So that's who exposes me to that kind of shit, and that's okay.
But with emphasis on that
Well, I mean,
shit.
for the most part, music nowadays is total shit because no one's had to work to get anywhere.
Well,
you get instantly corrected, produced, and blah blah blah. And I guess it's always been that way. I mean,
It has.
How arrogant of me to think that pop stars of any era weren't produced, weren't
Yeah.
success stories of the studio crew, the wrecking crew.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the internet has
Stax
made
Records, whatever. I mean, those guys.
Oh,
they
totally.
tried anybody in the studio,
Totally.
make anybody sound good.
Yeah.
Sonny and fucking Cher had hit records for God's
Yeah.
sake.
How's that possible?
I mean, right? And then a TV show.
knowing the right people.
God,
right?
really?
Yeah, no, I think, in a lot of ways, even though we've talked about, my struggles with that, the internet to me makes everything available, which is not necessarily a good thing. But what I think is fabulous is that something like YouTube exists and that you can discover, every day you can discover a band that will change your life if you want
Yeah,
to.
that's
if
true.
you want to.
You're right. You don't have to work the system anymore.
I found 5 bands on YouTube. I could go on for days actually, but I could give you 5 bands right now that have absolutely changed my life because I love their music that much.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So 12 Foot Ninja.
Okay.
Is awesome. You
Really?
would love it. You would love it. It's hilarious and the band is killer.
Okay.
Shining, which is in some ways maybe my favorite band kind of ever. They
Really?
are, oh my God. Yeah. They are exactly me as a musician. I admire them because they are a musical band. They're a force. They don't give a crap what you like. They're going to play what they want to play, and they're going to make you deal with it. I think that is awesome. I love that mindset.
Okay.
The Hi Hi's, which I just mentioned, which is probably just the single loveliest thing I've heard in years.
Really?
Yeah. Haken, which is the band I was talking about earlier, which is a progressive rock band. I'm a big fan of progressive rock, and I interviewed the keyboard player yesterday for the Rockstar Superhero podcast. So hint, anybody wants to check that out. Keep going. Gojira.
Okay.
And Gojira, I would tell you this. Now, these are Gojira is a heavy band. We're talking heavy. Real, true heavy metal. Okay, like
yeah, I
heavy
can
metal.
never wrap my head around it.
I couldn't either. I'll be the first person to tell you I could never wrap my head around it. And then about 4 years ago, so I love Devin Townsend. I don't know if you know who that is, but Devin Townsend lives in Vancouver. He's done 27 records now.
Okay.
He's younger than us, which is mind-blowing when you think about the productivity, right? Funny guy, great musician, comes to Seattle probably once every year and a half, every 2 years. I know his drummer. And anyway, they play shows. Well, about 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, they came through, and Gojira, they were supporting. I thought that was bizarre. Gojira was bigger, and they were supporting. I was like, how is this possible? Gojira, I mean, nobody knows who they are. You know, in Europe they do. And they'll play 40,000 people in France.
Okay, wow.
And they'll play 300 at Studio 7 downtown.
That's the weirdest thing.
It is so weird. And so they're there, and Devin Townsend's playing, and I'm like, it was a great show. I had so much fun. And I turned to my buddies, and I said, let's listen to one Gojira song just to see if they're worth staying for another 5 or 2 songs.
Right.
And I literally, it's the only time this has ever happened to me. I was like, I am so glad I just stayed.
Wow.
It was, I've never seen that good, that tight a band live. It sounded, I didn't even know their music. And I was like, what is that? They were so heavy and so tight, and the cuts and it just everything about them was just so extraordinary. So I go home and I'm just like, holy crap, I got to listen to this stuff. I find it all. They released a new record. They just came out with a record last year. They are going on tour starting this month with Metallica.
Wow.
So they've found an audience.
Cool.
And it's great because, God dang, are they good.
Right on.
Oh, my God. So I'm not a big Metallica guy.
Me neither. But I saw him live and was blown away.
Yeah. But I will say, if you go to that show, you're going to see Gojira, and you're literally going to go, holy crap.
No shit.
Yeah, that band deserves to be headlining. I mean, they are extraordinary.
Well, and to that, I'll take a moment to sidebar Pearl Jam.
So
So
traditionally good.
What's funny is I'm so quick to say Alice is my favorite Seattle band, and they are. They always will be. But PJ is fucking brilliant and world class. And I told you before that I got to go see Temple of the Dog at the.
I'm so jealous.
Well, that's fucking Pearl Jam giving Eddie a night off. It's just PJ with Chris out front.
Eddie should have been there.
When I tell you, and I know we've already beaten that horse.
About this.
But for them to do what they did live, like when they ended the show with stuff like Achilles' Last Stand and War Pigs, when I say, oh my God, I've never seen a band play any song better live than Temple of the Dog played War Pigs. That's just PJ standing up there,
right?
Playing somebody else's shit,
which shows how good they are.
Right. So these guys are Hall of Fame inductees this year.
Yeah.
And it ain't because they had a movement kind of record when grunge hit and 10 came out. It's because they have literally worked themselves to be one of the greatest live bands ever to fucking storm the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And they're relentless in their touring.
Yeah.
And every show is different than the last one, and every show is an absolute fucking gift to the people who get to see it live.
They are this generation's Springsteen.
No, Bruce is still this generation Springsteen.
Well,
I hear you. Well,
you know what I meant, right?
They're the dead of their era.
Okay.
If
That's
Fish,
fair.
I mean,
they play really long shows.
Right, and it's always an adventure, and it's never the same. And live, it's just nothing quite like it.
Yeah.
And I was a deadhead. When I was growing up,
I still don't understand.
I know.
That.
Well.
But that's because you either are or you aren't. They're one of those bands.
Well, it's funny. I was going to ask about that today. What band do you love that nobody else gets,
Kansas.
or what band do you hate that everybody else is just fucking nuts for?
The Who.
Really?
I can't stand The Who.
Really?
I know. We've talked about this a little bit.
I know.
No, I mean,
well, that's funny. That's exactly what I was hoping.
I try so hard. I hate Keith Moon so much. I hate. He's just dumb to me. He's not entertaining. He's a terrible drummer. I can't.
Oh my God.
Stand him. Now, I think Baba O'Reilly is one of the greatest songs of all time. So I give them their due. I think Summertime, their version of Summertime Blues is awesome.
Well, it's a piece of candy. It's throwaway.
I know.
Put on Quadrophenia.
I do enjoy Quadrophenia. Way more than I like Tommy.
I hate to say this, but I'm not sure of the name of the song. It's you under the impression.
Yeah, I don't know the names.
When you were walking forward.
But that's great.
That drum.
No.
The intro. I mean, how do you fucking say Keith Moon was, oh my God. I get the
because he's so sloppy. Entwistle is what held the band together. And if you write, Entwistle is awesome.
Entwistle.
Is that what
It's
it is? I always thought it was Entwistle.
John Entwistle.
Okay, well, John Entwistle.
Entwistle.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's like Neil Peart.
Neil Peart?
Neil Peart.
Peart,
Yeah,
Peart,
it's
Peart,
Peart.
Neil
It's
Peart.
Peart, right?
Right.
Well, okay. Entwistle. Okay, I always thought it was Entwistle.
Call me Ox. Call him Boris.
Anyway, that man was a master.
Oh, yeah.
An absolute master. You read, and again, not just. And granted, it's me looking to support my opinion, right? Where I was reading stuff, was like, does anybody else hate The Who as much as I do? And people would always say the same thing. The reason the band held it together because Moon was all over the map, drumming-wise, was John Entwistle, who just was a rock. Yeah. And he was a rock. I mean, he was an amazing, amazing
brilliant
player.
bass player.
But like what I like about Pete Townsend the most is when he went and did White City.
I love White City.
I love that record.
God, that's a great record.
Give Blood is like one of the best songs ever written.
Oh my God, Pete Townsend.
But one of the reasons I like that record so much is Simon Phillips was playing drums.
Yeah.
You know, and he's a killer drummer. He plays with
drummer.
Toto now, and he played with Nazareth back in the day. A lot of people don't know that.
Give Blood. That's awesome.
Did you know Simon Phillips is playing drums on Hair of the Dog? Now you're messing
I did not know that.
Yeah, the same drummer from Toto and Give Blood.
No shit.
Yep.
That's killer.
Simon Phillips.
I love that. I love that Pete record.
Yeah.
White City's amazing.
Yeah, it's a great record.
You know what? Empty Glass? I love Empty Glass.
It's okay. You know, again, I think it was like the record that still kind of sounded like The Who.
Right, a little bit, yeah.
You know, it's hard.
There's a Who record. There's a Pete record called Live at the Deep End.
Right.
There's like a little live record at like a club called The Deep End. It's fantastic. Yeah. Just fantastic.
Well, remember in '82 when It's Hard came out and The Who said, this is our last tour.
The first of 8 farewell tours.
Last tour.
You bet, yeah.
You know, they released Eminence Front, which is, they had such an FU to the world that they left the mistakes in Eminence Front. You know that, right? That in that first chorus where he does it wrong, and they just screw it, we don't care. That's a great song. But The Who, to me, it's again a wrong era, wrong sensibility. Something about it just never worked for me, and I never understood why people liked it so much.
I've clearly stated, if you gave me The Who, the Beatles, and the Stones, I'd take The Who.
I know.
And leave the other two to die.
But I think that's wonderful that you feel that way, because I can totally appreciate it. They're not my thing.
Right.
And when I say hate, that's really unfair. That's me exaggerating.
But no.
But I really dislike The Who.
Yeah,
a lot. When they come on the radio, I turn the channel. I would rather hear AC/DC play Dirty Deeds again than The Who.
Right.
I just yeah. To me, The Who and Led Zeppelin are two bands that are just so overplayed, and I can appreciate them both. And I actually like Zepp a lot more. But that's another band. I just like Stairway to Heaven. I get it. Why?
I hear you.
Get it, and yet I don't get it. I guess the fact, Spike, is I'm always drawn towards bands that have, and granted, look, Bonham was killer. One of the grooviest drummers ever.
Right.
He never overplayed. He just grooved. I mean, he grooved. And when you really listen to that record, any of their music, you can go like, okay, that guy really knows how to just sit in the pocket and just almost drag, but it doesn't. He never drags. It's just great. I always liked music that really challenged my... You know, when you're a kid, you typically like, if you're a musician anyway, you typically like music with lots of notes in it, right? That's why guys like Al Di Meola, Terry Bozzio as a drummer, you name it, right? That's why they're famous, because they were capable of playing so much. There was so much crap going on,
right?
With emphasis on crap, right? There's so much crap going on in the song, but you could appreciate their musicality. You could appreciate the practice and the time they put in, so you knew it kind of counted, it mattered, and I was drawn to that. That's why nowadays as an adult I can appreciate Sting so much, because I see the craft, right? I can appreciate a Phil Collins because even though he didn't play anything difficult in his drums, he understood space. That's why Steve Gadd is so good. That's why Asia by Steely Dan is so good, because it grooves and there's so much space, and when you listen to it, you go like, oh my God. When you really listen to the space, you realize how perfect it is.
I've been meaning to try to get to bring up Genesis. Old Genesis.
Old Genesis.
Yeah.
Peter Gabriel Genesis?
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched some the other night.
Yeah.
I love it.
What'd you watch?
They had one of those, on YouTube. Again, I'm a big YouTube guy since I don't regular television. They have a re-released HD master of a performance like an hour and a half long Genesis performance. It's called like Genesis Live at the Palace or something like that. And it's the famous night that Peter wore the fox head,
right,
and wore the flower head, and
right,
wore the pyramid head, and I mean, it's just it's all their weird early Genesis stuff. And the fact is I don't really know any of the material, but I could appreciate it.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, people say, what, supper's
ready.
Supper's ready.
Yeah.
I always want to say Daddy's coming, but yeah, supper's ready. That is the one thing I know. Right. But I just watch it and I'm just kind of blown away mostly because of Peter Gabriel, because he's just really.
There's a band called Musical Box. Have you heard of them?
No, but sounds sexy.
They do Peter Gabriel Genesis in albums in their entirety.
Wow.
They perform and they've actually gotten costumes that Peter Gabriel used.
Really?
On stage. Yeah. And they recreate those performances.
Wow. Where are they from?
I'm not sure.
Are they like the New Fish?
No, well, I saw them maybe, I'm going to say 8 years ago. Joe took me to a show in Tacoma at the, what's the theater in Tacoma?
The Tacoma Dome?
No, smart ass. And not the Temple either. It's down
the High Dive?
Pantages.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was just, oh my God, it's like a time machine.
Really?
Oh my God, it was amazing.
Really?
Musical Box. Yeah, if you ever see a chance coming through town, check them out.
Okay.
Like Dark Star Orchestra plays Dead shows.
Yeah.
They recreate Dead shows in their entirety to the note.
Yeah.
That's what Musical Box does for Genesis stuff.
Okay.
I love me some Carpet Crawlers.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Oh man, I'm telling you.
Why?
Dance on a Volcano. Why? Because it's
no. I just want to know what attracted you.
The uniqueness of Gabriel's voice, the passion that he sings with.
Yeah.
The pain that he sings with.
Oh yeah.
And I mean the keys are perfect.
Yeah.
The guitar work is tasty as all fucking get out.
Yeah.
And you're right about Phil Collins in space.
Yeah.
You're totally right.
Totally.
I know. I love. It's a musical. It's a masterpiece of music. Not that it's the greatest thing ever made.
No,
but it's so well.
No, that
crafted.
would be Security by Peter Gabriel.
Oh my God, I love.
See, Peter's one of my. We talk about bands. Mm-hmm. Peter's a band.
Oh yeah. He's a force. Yeah, absolutely.
It's
absolutely.
Great. That's a whole nother level. You and I throw the word genius around a lot. Peter Gabriel's a genius.
I told you I went to see Sting and Peter Gabriel last spring.
Yes.
Or last fall.
And would you believe this is how, I'm so focused on life and the crap I was going through at the time. I didn't even know he was coming.
Right. They did Rock, Paper, Scissors tour.
Yeah. And my friend calls me up from West Seattle and goes, "Hey, I was at the Gabriel show last night." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
I know, yeah.
Seriously. I had no idea.
And I'd seen Peter a few times solo, and I'd seen Sting every time he's ever toured. And I think I told you this, the last few times I saw Sting, it was disappointing because he's kind of mailing it in of late in the last decade, I think. He's kind of lost his love and feeling.
But not that tour.
This one here, this Rock, Paper, Scissors. I told you then, and hopefully people who didn't hear that podcast, I'll tell them now for that benefit. They should have called that tour, "Oh yeah, fuck you, watch this." Because they literally traded songs all night long.
Yeah.
They went Peter song, Sting song, Peter song, Sting song, and it just kept ramping up all night long.
Yeah.
And they had both bands on stage for the entire performance.
Wow.
We walked in and there were 3 complete drum sets.
Yeah.
Because they had a drummer.
By the way.
Right. Oh my God.
He's the one guy that I don't know why he doesn't have a bigger. Every drummer in the world knows who he is. Yeah. And guys like you know who he is, but nobody else does.
Right. I found him with Zappa.
Yeah.
And now he's been with Sting forever.
He's probably the best drummer pound for pound in the world. Seriously.
Yeah.
He can do anything.
Yep.
And I guarantee you, look, I love Steve Gadd. I love a lot of these metal guys. They cannot do what Vinny does. They can't play the jazz. They can't play the swing. They can play metal, but they can't do it all. Vinny can do it all.
I can't believe people who don't get Springsteen.
Yeah.
I cannot. I can tolerate them.
Tunnel of Love brings
I pity them.
Bruce.
I pity them.
Right.
I do. I really pity them for not being able to wrap their heads around Bruce.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me and the era I was born in and the area I was born in.
Yeah.
I'm East Coast, late 70s when I found music. When
that makes sense.
Darkness,
you
Born
grew
to
up
Run,
like in his backyard,
right?
Man.
River,
Yeah, the river's awesome.
The river's just
Nebraska
changing. Nebraska's amazeballs.
Yeah.
And I just don't get when people don't get them.
It's because Born in the USA
was people were bludgeoned with Born in the USA.
Absolutely.
They were beat to death.
It was
with
the Rosanna of 1984.
Yeah.
It was so overplayed.
Yeah, but
nobody knew what it meant, and nobody cared what it meant.
Right. And Ronnie Reagan,
it's a patriotic cry.
Right. That's a big fat fuck
right.
you.
So when Tunnel of Love came out in '87, I was like, "Oh, now this is amazing."
Yeah, great piece
I
of
felt
work.
like that went back to the river.
Yeah.
He was letting you know, I'm kind of an introvert, and I'm going to talk about some things. I'm going to talk about the dark side of love.
Right, because he had just gotten fucked over.
Yeah.
His heart. Well, not fucked over. He kind of screwed over.
Yeah. What's her name from Portland?
Michelle or whatever. And
she was the actress.
Yeah.
The model actress.
Right.
I can't remember her name. But then, now he's with Patty. So
he's as he should have been.
He's
a Jersey girl.
As he's really probably been for 40 plus years.
Well, you know what? No, they weren't. They weren't together before they got together. He knew of her and saw her play 1,000 times, and she was one of the clubbers. She was a club girl in the club bands that toured the Jersey Shore.
Right.
And then she started singing. She sang with Southside Johnny, I think, for a while, and she sang with him, and then they fell in love, as they should have, as was meant to be, because she was a Jersey girl. That's the life he was comfortable with, and that's what kind of woman that he needed. That was like his mom was for his dad. That's Patty.
Were you ever into the Tubes?
I've seen him a few times, and I can appreciate him.
Too weird?
A little too weird.
Yeah.
It was Genesis without the genius, if you will.
I was into the Tubes.
Yeah,
no, a friend of mine, I was living in Eastern Washington, and again, Eastern Washington at that time, regardless of my family situation, was the kind of place you would go to hide.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, there wasn't any modern culture or pop culture up there. And then,
by that you mean any culture of any kind.
I mean, you can pick apples. So that's
right.
pretty much your opportunity. We went to I went to a friend of mine's house. I was a freshman in high school. The year we moved away was at the end of my freshman year. So in the beginning of my freshman year, I was over at a friend's house. I don't remember his name at the moment. And he said, "Hey Rob, I wanna play some new music for you." And he put on White Punks on Dope by the Tubes. And that was the first time I heard the F word. And I was like, "What the?" What so I was drawn to it because it was naughty. I was drawn to it because it was dirty. Songs like "Don't Touch Me There."
Right.
And I was like, "What the heck is this?" And it was so weird and funny. And it was right around the time. I mean, I heard it right around the time I saw Airplane in the theater. And so all of a sudden, I was I'm at that age where I'm drawn to goofy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so songs like "What Do You Want from Life" when they're naming all the cars, and I mean, it was just so weird. I was just drawn to it instantly. So for about 5 years, I mean, if you had asked me what my favorite band in the world, it was the Tubes.
The Tubes, really?
From 80 to 85, I was
cycle there.
Crazy nuts about the Tubes. I saw them 3 times. I think I told you.
Yeah.
I saw them open for Bowie, and I was like, I'm just here to see the Tubes.
Right, you told me that.
And I left the Bowie show early. That's how crazy I was. I know I was crazy.
I love you too.
Yeah.
And there was a period in my life when that was it for me.
I love you too.
I love you too. You're so cute. Because I found you two not on October Boy, but when War came out.
Yeah, that's when almost everybody. Sunday, Bloody Sunday,
right? And New Year's Day,
Red Rock.
But then Under a Blood Red Sky.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh my God.
Bullet the Blue Sky is my favorite song, and of course that's on
Joshua
not
Tree.
Unforgettable Fire. Yeah, Joshua Tree. Yeah.
But and when you two played Live Aid, and did Bad. That's when the whole world went like, holy fuck.
Yeah, you're the real deal.
Holy fuck.
Yeah.
As well they should have.
Live Aid, it's an amazing thing that it was Queen's comeback.
Yeah.
It was U2's Hello.
Right, yeah.
It was so many bands that,
right.
in a sense, broke out, or we were reminded how good they were.
Right.
Live Aid was such an important event.
Yep.
I'll never forget it as long as I live. I remember it was 105 degrees that day in Portland. And Live Aid was on TV, and I had to sit inside the house to watch it because, damn it, I wasn't
the same thing in Baltimore.
I wasn't going to miss it.
I did the same thing, a hot fucking summer day.
Yeah.
And I'm watching in Baltimore.
The end of June 1985.
Yep.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
It was absolutely incredible.
So I want to circle back to Springsteen for a minute. And I know that people were just bludgeoned with Born in the USA. If that's repetitive, I apologize. I'm not sure where we picked up and left off. Last week, I posted something on Facebook of Springsteen in Germany, I think.
Yeah.
And every night he takes did we talk about this last week? We may have. He takes not suggestions, requests out of the audience.
Yeah.
People make signs at a Bruce show of obscure songs they'd like to see added to the set that night. And Bruce always does that. He calls audibles. He'll pull a sign from the audience and we'll play, okay, tonight we're playing this.
Right.
And the band, couple seconds, the band gets it. And for the most part, it's in their repertoire. We interviewed Nils one time, and he said Bruce puts us through our paces. We know like 200 songs.
Wow.
Before we start a tour of all his catalog. Because there's literally hundreds.
Right.
Somebody in Germany held up a sign that said, "You never can tell," which is the Chuck Berry song from Pulp Fiction.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you see it when I posted it? I thought you might have commented on it, but.
Might have liked it.
So he pulls this sign out of the audience and says, "Okay, we're going to do this. We've never done this before." And he goes and he starts trying to, the song I'm talking about?
Yeah.
She was
You never can tell.
Goes to show you never can tell,
yeah.
right? Well, he tries to doing it. He starts to, and he doesn't know it. And he's trying to find the right key, and then. How about A? Try an A, and he's that's too high. And then little Steven's like, no. And he goes, okay, I think I got this. And he starts. Meanwhile, the whole time they're kind of doing this. This is taking about 30, 40, 50 seconds
on stage.
Because the guy, and this is a 80,000 people sold out stadium.
Yeah, they don't mind.
The guy downstairs is frantically looking for the lyrics to put him on a teleprompter for him.
Right.
Which is cool. He does that for most. I mean, these guys, singing shit for 50 years ago.
Yeah, you forget. It's a lot of songs.
He goes, okay, but the horns. He goes, da 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 da. Then the horns. Okay, try it. And he works through the horns, right? He works through the horns, and he goes. This is keys a little ambitious. I'm gonna need a capo. And the guy hands him a guitar, right? It's tuned, and they kick into this song live, and they do it live. And it's about a 7-8 live minute rendition of this 2-minute song because the horn players all come and they go around on solos.
Take it from the top.
They have a go around with a trombone solo, a French horn solo, a sax solo, and
you can do that when you're good.
And it's magic watching these guys. This band's been touring for 50 years.
Yeah,
right. Literally, they've been together for 50 fucking years.
It blows my mind.
And for these guys to just pull it out of their ass and work it up in front of a crowd and just kill it. I mean, just fucking kill it. Yeah. And watching how much fun they're having figuring this song out that they've never played before. And I posted on Facebook. I said, you know what? Lately, I've been trying to. I'm been tempted to steer clear of social media, but for whatever, I would have missed this.
Right.
And I wrote in there. This is what to me. This is, and it's just my opinion. I wrote, but this is what makes America great. This band and this band.
Yeah.
Taking the best of America to the rest of the world.
The best representations of what we are.
Of who we are. Right. Yeah. And that's. People who don't get Bruce, and people are like, oh, this was totally staged. It was totally staged.
No.
I'm like, you shut your fake news up your ass. Totally give me a fucking break. But I love that guy's music and his passion.
It's very clear.
And his relationship with his audience. And the music that you played for me that I just couldn't engage with.
It's okay.
I mean,
you guys didn't know this. We did this in a break. I played him a whole bunch of stuff I just talked about.
Yeah.
He hated everything except high highs. He liked the high highs.
Well, I've never been a fan of industrial kind of like a.
Yeah. I totally understand that.
I get the talent involved.
Yeah.
But to me, one of the reasons I can't get my ass around country is like I think one band could do every country song ever fucking recorded.
Actually, that's true.
Just roll singers around because there's different inflections and tone and whatnot, and qualities to different vocalists, and I get the quality of it. But when you talk about country music, it's just a fucking house band. Mm-hmm. Everything is a house band in country music. And
4 studio musicians and a singer.
That's kind of how I view the heavy industrial stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's different when you got Sabbath or you got Priest or you got there's unique talents in those bands. But the Cookie Monster, it's. I mean, I get it, and it's.
You're wrong.
I'm not saying I'm right.
No, I know. I completely understand. I
played for you during the break.
Still haven't heard "Shining" though. I haven't played it.
I played for you during the break that Springsteen song off the second record called "New York City Serenade." Right? There's a song on there called "Incident on 57th Street" that you've never heard before.
Yeah.
That I love. This song makes me cry when I hear these songs.
That's good.
I mean, that's how much I love this shit.
Yeah.
You talk about what bands. When we came into what bands, I clearly sat on Bruce for a while.
Yeah, it's great though. But I mean, I had never heard that song before.
Well,
I had no idea. No idea.
You've heard "Blinded by the Light" by Manfred Mann's Earth Band, right?
Yeah.
That song makes me want to put an ice pick in my ear.
And of course, that's the first time I actually heard a Bruce Springsteen
right,
song.
And we talked about that. Bruce's first song on the first side of his first record. That's how he said hello to the world. Was Bruce's version of "Blinded by the Light."
Yeah.
I mean, that shit is, to me, that's just
heinous.
No, I mean Bruce's version. It's it's fucking poetry. It's it makes my heart move, makes my blood move.
Yeah. No,
I could live on nothing but coconut water and Bruce music and be a happier, healthier me,
I totally get it.
And some people just don't fucking get it.
Yeah.
And you feel that way about me when I tell you that I don't get the metal that you love.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, so I'm just giving you something you can relate to.
Yeah.
Because you love that shit, and I just can't. And I don't mean any disrespect.
No.
I just can't wrap my head around it.
I'm not offended by that, and I totally understand why you wouldn't. I mean, first of all, it's pretty noisy, right? I mean, there's a lot of material that just isn't very attractive. And certainly the idea behind the Cookie Monster vocals or the screaming stuff can get really old. I think, again, being a drummer and being into the technical aspects of music is why I was drawn to bands like, again, Kansas and Rush and King Crimson and all those bands that played lots of notes. I'm into what I would call Mozart music.
Sure.
Right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Lots of stuff going on. Probably my favorite band of the moment would be Shining from Norway. I mean, I'm a massive fan. I'm a Patreon subscriber. I give the band money every month.
Wow.
I think they're that good.
Wow.
I love them. And in return, they do special things for their fans. Every year they do a Christmas song and they send it out, and it's in their way, right? Last year they did I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas, but like Shining would do it, and it was insane and awesome and wonderful. They sent me I just got a subscriber shirt the other day, so I get some merch.
Right.
And Jorgen, the singer, who I interviewed for my other podcast, when he sent it to me, he's like, "Hey Rob, I hope you're well. It was great to talk to you last year." I mean, he's really right.
No, I hear you, man.
And they play festivals in Europe in front of 40,000 people.
Right.
I saw him in Seattle at El Corazon for 30. There was 30 people.
Oh.
I mean, maybe Scott Adams was with me.
Doesn't that break your heart, though?
But in a way, I want to keep him to myself.
Okay, that's cool.
I love. It's kind of like when Muse broke. Muse was huge in Europe. They came to America. They played at Moe's. There was less than 400 people to see Muse. The next night, they played in front of 200,000 people. The next night, they flew to London after the show. They played 200,000 people. The next night, they played 400 in Seattle. And so, I mean, it just goes to show you European. I mean, I'm not saying they get it. They're just different, right?
No, I hear you.
But
Let me hear it.
I really want. Yeah, you're probably going to absolutely hate this, but I think it's fabulous and perfect.
That's awesome.
And anybody who knows me, so hang on a second here. I got to hit pause and I got to turn that up and then hit that button. I love drums.
Really?
It's like 9 Inch Nails. Hang on. It gets weirder. I think I'm worshiping Satan. So scary. Oh, come on. Wait. Oh, here. Let's bring it back up. Bring it back up.
The fuck is that, man?
You know what the best part about
you, man? That is what?
So I called Scott Adams, our mutual friend, who introduced us, right? And this was, I don't know, 3-4 years ago, and I said, "Hey Scott, I'm going to go see this Norwegian, this sort of weird." And they have, I mean,
How would you classify that? Prog metal?
It's well, they call themselves industrial jazz.
Okay.
And if you hear it, I mean, if I were to play this whole thing, there's a saxophone solo in the middle of that.
Did they run over it with a car? What did they do?
Somehow, there's a saxophone solo.
Awesome. They do run over it with a car. Yeah.
And so, long story short is Scott being a saxophone player, I'm like, oh, he'll dig this, right? So I call Scott, hey, dude, you got to come see the show with me. And he goes on the internet. He doesn't know anything about him. And then there's another band from Sweden called Shining as well.
Okay.
And they are a Satan band. I mean, we're talking like full on, like actually, like the songs are called For the God Below and stuff like that, right? Scary stuff. And they really are into it.
Okay.
Like really blood, the whole thing. And Scott writes me back and he goes, yeah, dude, I'm down for a little Satan music or whatever. And I'm like, no, wrong band. So he goes to the show with me at the El Corazon, and we're standing there right at the front. I mean, literally.
Well, sure, yeah.
Even closer
you
than
could
you
have
and I
played
are, right?
second guitar if you wanted to. That
yeah, absolutely. And then they play that song amongst others, and I turn around and look at Scott, and he's got his mouth open, and he's so happy because it's so insane.
Oh,
and
my God.
And it's that reminder as a musician, because again, he's a great musician.
Yes.
It's a reminder as a musician that there are still bands that choose to push, to break the envelope, to tear the envelope, right? They're not just pushing the envelope. They're lighting the envelope on fire. And they really don't care if you like it or not because they're doing it for themselves. And so I appreciate that so much. I love it so much. And again, technically proficient band, these guys can play.
Right.
They've got massive chops. I totally get why nobody in America especially would probably get into it. Only what I would call my uber musician friends, basically people who love the kind of music I love would listen to it. Nobody else would even consider it. It's too noisy. It's too atonal.
Right.
There's too much screaming involved.
Right. It's a wall.
It's chaos.
Yeah, it's an avalanche.
But it's awesome. So that was my one dig. I had to get it in there.
No, it's all cool.
So before we end, tell us. I mean, I know how much you love Bruce Springsteen, but give us another band or artist that you identify with or love that much, because I'm done.
Sinatra.
Really?
I will put on Sinatra's Gold collection.
That's awesome.
And just sing along at the top of my lungs. I love every note. I love the band. I love his arrangement. I love his style. Elvis Presley.
Really?
I am a true believer of the American trilogy of Elvis, Sinatra, and Bruce Springsteen.
Okay.
I mean, I'm telling you, that's the American. No, Elvis, Sinatra, and Bruce Springsteen. They literally, there's not a woman that's ever walked the face of this fucking earth that didn't cream for one of those guys, man.
He forgot Tom Jones, dude.
Tom Jones not American.
Yeah, that's true.
Engelbert Humperdinck? And not American.
Really?
Engelbert Humperdinck, yes, from Nebraska. Yes.
Well, that's not his name.
I know. What is his name?
It's
Joe
like,
Smith. No one's going to buy a record from Joe Smith.
It is quite literally something like Joe Smith. Yeah.
Stuff that you wouldn't think I love. Isn't that funny? Yeah, there's weird shit in my life that I just adore.
Like what?
Sinatra, Springsteen.
Well, that's not weird, though. I mean, it's old-fashioned, but it's not weird.
I mean, I guess it's surprising. I would think it's surprising that I love that. Let me look through my artists on my phone.
I don't know.
I
mean, I think of Americana, and I think of what my parents listened to, and what I was
John Philip Sousa
raised on. No, my parents listened to. Of course, there was a lot of again type of household I grew up in.
Right.
But
I mean, I'm a huge Alice Cooper fan.
Jerry Mulligan.
Huge Alice Cooper fan.
Jazz stuff from the late 50s, early 60s would be. Honestly, the Jerry Mulligan, Perry Como. I mean, granted, I get it. White bread and safe.
I love Bruno Mars. How about
Bruno
that?
Mars is great.
Bruno Mars is a genius.
He's a true talent.
He is a talent.
Yeah.
We've already talked about the Clash. I love the Clash.
Yep.
I'm looking through my record collection here on my phone. The one that never. I mean, I'm not a big fan of the industrial, and that's what it is. And I don't disrespect it. I just never got my head around it.
Yeah. So no 9 Inch Nails in your life. No Ministry.
No Ministry. No 9 Inch Nails.
How about the Melvins?
I didn't.
Too weird.
Not enough talent.
Well, I would give you both.
I got the flavor.
It's too weird.
ELO. I love me some fucking ELO.
Geez.
Love me some ELO, man.
Yeah, me too.
Never got the Doors.
No, I still don't understand them. The keyboard, it's the organ. The organ made the sound chintzy and weak.
Remember the band Fun?
Yeah.
Love them.
Yeah.
Love that guy's voice. Love that band.
Yeah.
Love the military cadence of their drums in most of their songs.
Yep. Badfinger.
Oh God, I love Badfinger.
Yeah.
I fucking love Badfinger.
Yeah, they're a great band.
Great call, man. Great call.
The next Beatles that
They were supposed to be.
was never
That's
quite
right.
there.
Didn't that guy commit suicide because he didn't make it or something?
Something like
right,
that.
Yeah, I mean it was.
He was a pretty unhappy guy.
Yeah, what's it called? No matter what, no matter where you go, right? We played that a couple times.
No matter what
no matter what you are, I will always be with you. And the harmony's the best part. We sang that. The Impalers did that for one. We did that for one summer.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got to do the. Ooh, girl,
yeah, the band I don't get is Big Star. Everybody
Big
talks
Star?
about exactly.
Who's that?
Everybody talks about Big Star as being this band that really matters. Red Cross is another band that, and I listen to both those and I go like, okay, I don't recognize any of the work they did. You know.
Oh, see,
and how influential
you like
they
the
are.
Killers?
Like, how does that happen?
There's a couple of their songs I really fell in love with. A band called My Chemical Romance.
Yo, geez.
I know, right?
I like them a lot.
My older daughter got into them, and I took her to see the
AFI.
Warped Tour.
Yeah.
You know, and Chemical Romance was on that show, and I just fucking loved them.
Yeah.
They were fantastic.
Yeah. 30 Seconds to Mars is my favorite of that type of music, the emo, the screamo bands. Jared Leto is really, truly talented. It's unfair.
Yeah.
He's as handsome as he is.
I know, right? That he's got all these gifts.
Yeah, yeah.
Meatloaf is great.
Yeah.
Love.
Yeah, we addressed Meatloaf
We loved Meatloaf before, you know.
Yeah.
Not the food.
No.
The singer.
The Paradise.
Right. Oh, my God, what a great piece of work. I love me some Kanye West.
Really?
No,
that
I'm kidding
is a
you. No, I'm
shock.
kidding. I
Okay,
think
because I was about to
he's
reach
an
across
accident. That guy's a musical calamity. He totally
I
is
can
a
appreciate
musical
Public
calamity.
Enemy.
I can too.
Of all the bands, of all the rap bands, that's the one that I would pick.
Absolutely.
Mostly because of Chuck D, because of his voice and the
Yeah, absolutely.
It's extraordinary.
Who else am I into here?
We are just winging it today.
I know. That's okay.
No
it's okay.
focus.
There's a band called you've never heard of. I'm not going to bring them up. There's no point bringing them up.
Who?
Southside Johnny and the Asbury Jukes.
Well, I know about them.
It's a
but
Bruce Springsteen Junior League. It's one of the bands that Bruce clubbed
Spawned.
with. Well, no. They were club partners. They were of the same northeast, Ocean City, Atlantic City, Jersey Shore,
Right.
New York City. It was one of those same genre of touring bands, but Bruce could write songs and Southside couldn't.
Nice.
That's it.
So I lived in Virginia Beach for a period of time when I was in the Navy, and I was in the Navy band. I think I told you about this, and when I wasn't at work playing military music, I was working in a couple of top 40 bands in the area, and I got hired by one band called the Fantasy Band because all they did is play beach music, right?
Wow, yeah.
And I didn't know what beach music was. I thought it was the Beach Boys. I didn't understand it was like Under the Boardwalk, etc. So I adapted fairly quickly, but I was in this band called Fantasy, and this is my weird, lame, rubbing shoulders with greatness story. But I was in the Fantasy band, and Spike's got to go, so I'll tell this story really quick.
I'm fine. I just didn't realize we've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, the Fantasy Band, they had to change their name because fantasy is, well, come on, it's like being a band called The Cool Band. One, it's a lame name, and two, the name is probably taken by somebody
with more
far
money
more
than you.
money, and bigger lawyers than yours.
That's all.
And so we got told we had to cease and desist. So we're sitting around, we couldn't come up with a name, and the leader of the band, his name was Jim. He said, "Hey guys, we're going to play a show tonight at the Jewish Mother, which is this great club/restaurant in Virginia Beach, right on the boardwalk." And we played with a little band called Hootie and the Blowfish that night.
No shit.
Yeah. And there was probably 30 people in the room, tiny little stage. And when we walk up, we opened for Hootie and the Blowfish. I mean, they weren't famous yet,
right,
but they were on their way up. And we didn't know. And we're on stage, and Jim walks up to us and he goes, "Okay, guys, I got the name changed. So I'll make sure I have the guy, announce us." And so when we walk out, I swear to God, this is true. He goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Flaming Embers." And I've never like looked at an audience with no response ever in my life until that night. What a dumb ass name.
Flaming Embers.
The Flaming Embers. And all we got was gay joke after gay joke after gay joke. So that didn't last very long. But it just goes to show you when one guy thinks something is cool, how
Right.
wrong they usually are.
Yeah, the army of one.
Yeah, but Darius was a very nice man from my memory, and
He's got himself a hell of a country career.
way before he was famous. But I remember thinking, who is that singer? Well, I was around eating gazpacho around the corner. I come around, I was like, who's this guy? And here's this African American guy singing with this incredible baritone.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, there you go.
No shit.
He's on
Good
his
jobs.
way. So I know you got to go play radio. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, don't be like me. Keep an open mind musically. So I have sheltered myself. My musical tastes, I should say, are protective.
That's fair.
They are my shelter in a world full of shit that just keeps populating itself with more shit. And sometimes I punish myself for not being more open-minded about music.
Yeah.
Most often I'm right.
Yeah.
When I say that nothing good has happened after 1991. Most often I'm right, but occasionally I'm wrong.
And tonight you've discovered your favorite new band,
Yeah.
Shining from Norway.
From Norway. Piss on the Devil, their new release. I don't know. That was some weird shit, buddy. But I love you enough to listen to your shit.